Hey guys, 47 Cartoon Guy here, and welcome to the first episode of a new segment called The Funtastic Legacy of Hanna Barbera Minisodes, where I take a look at several well-known specials and TV movies in the Hanna Barbera library, in between parts of the retrospective. And today, we're going to start off with 2001's The Flintstones on the Rocks.
Tonight, can the Rubbles save their best friend's marriage?
Happy anniversary! You forgot!
Cartoon Network's Cartoon Theater presents The Flintstones on the Rocks.
Before we begin, I'd like to point out I'm planning on reviving the series in 2024. For the $5 tier on my Patreon, you can request any Hanna-Barbera or Tom and Jerry special/movie. Once again, the 80s Scooby-Doo TV movies and the Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movies are off limits. So if you're interested, become a member of the Hanna-Barberians today and send the following to my inbox. Now, on with the show. Okay, I'm kind of cheating here a bit, since this particular special had no involvement from William Hanna and Joseph Barbera, nor was it made by their studio. Instead being one of the first productions of Cartoon Network Studios, which became a separate facility from Hanna-Barbera after William Hanna's death in 2001. And if I'm right, it's the only time CN Studios ever tackled any of the legacy HB properties, which would normally be under Warner Brothers Animation. But I want to talk about this special simply because I find it interesting. Having seen it when it first aired in 2001, it left me pretty confused, but I was a kid back then. Now that I'm an adult, I'm going to see if this special was an underrated classic, or was it forgotten for a reason. On the Rocks came from that weird period in the late 90s/early 2000s where Time Warner were rebranding the old Hanna-Barbera IPs to the nostalgic baby boomers who grew up with them, after their ability to entertain kids started to dwindle, with less successful outings like Yo Yogi, Cave Kids, and The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest. But these new incarnations were mostly crude, cynical parodies. Some would even become more popular than the originals. A lot of the early Adult Swim programming came from this era too. Not to mention what could have been, like an R-rated live-action Scooby-Doo movie, and one-offs, like those weird John K. Yogi Bear and Jetsons shorts. Flintstones on the Rocks debuted on Cartoon Network's Cartoon Theater, Saturday night, November 3rd, 2001, in a double feature with the Jetsons meet the Flintstones. And I gotta say, it's incredibly jarring seeing your childhood favorites act like this.
Oh boy, sweet and sour brattle ribs and lizard gizzards. My favorite breakfast.
And suddenly seeing them act like this.
Yabba dabba dabba!
It was directed by Dave Smith and Chris Savino. The latter is mostly known as the creator of Nickelodeon's The Loud House, and other things. The plot revolves around Fred and Wilma, whose marriage is on death's door. The opening scene sets the tone perfectly.
I think you better run.
Yeah, good idea.
Seeing this, Barney and Betty invite them on a vacation to Acapulco for their anniversary in an effort to save their marriage. But everything seems to be hopeless. Through a mix-up, Wilma finds a diamond in her suitcase and assumes Fred gave it to her. Fred, taking advantage of the situation, decides to go along with it, but little do they all know, the diamond actually belongs to a jewel thief, who is planning on wooing Wilma to get it back. We get past the usual Flintstones cliches like rock puns and animal appliances making snide remarks. The special has some quiet and pretty mature moments. The best scenes are like that. Take the opening where Fred comes home from work and eats dinner with Wilma. There's no music, no dialogue, just eerie silence. And it shows perfectly how far their marriage had fallen. There's another scene towards the end where Fred spots a thief flirting with Wilma. Now you expect Fred to go over there and put the guy in his place, but that's not what happens. Instead, Fred sulks at the bar and monologues to himself about how his failed marriage was his own doing. It's actually pretty profound. Many modern viewers might also be puzzled to see how much of a dick Fred is. Granted, in the original series, he was a grumpy curmudgeon with a good heart, which makes sense seeing how he was modeled after one of TV's most famous grumps. Once the show became more aimed towards kids, there was a big push to make Fred more friendly and soften his character a bit. And they were usually having him commercials, merchandise, theme parks, etc., all with a big smile on his face. Here, he's pretty crude, dim-witted, loud, and even unpleasant at times. And, also, he's kind of racist in this. I get he's supposed to be an ugly American here, but it could get a little uncomfortable.
It's written in Spanish, Fred.
Only the Rubbles could have brought us somewhere all backwards. Flintstones and the Rubbles are here.
I should also talk about the animation and the art style. You see that thick outline look? That was very popular in the late 90s/2000s. Here, the more wonky designs along with the abstract backgrounds or a throwback to the Ed Benedict style from the old show. Something that was sorely missing in the revivals. A lot of the same crew from Dexter's Lab and Powerpuff Girls worked on this. Even Jenny Tartakovsky was a producer. The designs were done by Craig Kellman, whose work I really enjoyed in the Hotel Transylvania films. In an interview with Chris Savino on the old Cartoon Fridays fan site, he mentioned the designs were left over from a merchandising promotion for the Flintstones' 35th anniversary, which apparently didn't do so hot. Prior to the special, Craig's designs were also used on several Cartoon Network ID spots. The one scene everyone remembers is Fred's Daydream, a beautiful stop-motion sequence by Screen Novelties, the guys behind Robot Chicken. All the voice actors do a great job emulating the originals. Jeff Bergman, Tress MacNeille, Greg Griffin, but the big surprise was Kevin Michael Richardson as Barney. For the longest time I thought that was Frank Welker. That's amazing, dude's got a lot of range. The stuff with the thief does clash with the rest of the film. Granted, it would have been out of place in the original show, but it is pretty distracting, having it lumped in with the depressing marriage stuff. Some of the jokes can be hit and miss, and the misses can get awkward, like the overly long gags that pad the running time, and the Fred and Barney bathing suit scene. This would have been right at home on Simpsons or Family Guy, not the Flintstones. Some of the adult humor is subtle enough that will go over a kid's head, and even some of the meaner jokes work.
Yes, Mr. Slate, sir, you called?
I know you wanted that promotion, Flintstone, so I'm giving it to Rubble.
Barney?
Flintstones on the Rocks aired for the final time, March 2002. It didn't have any home media releases. It's not on any of the Flintstones season releases, and you can't even find it on streaming. And there's no information to know how well it did ratings-wise, so we can only assume the subject matter is why WB has been hesitant to re-release it. The same crew from On the Rocks were also in production on a Quick Draw McGraw special, but it was eventually scrapped. According to Brian A. Miller,
basically, it wasn't working creatively from the network's view. As a result, it was shelved. We got as far as storyboard, as I recall, but never took it any further. Although rare to get that far in the process and then stop, it does happen. As a special, it was also a higher budget, making the risk higher as well. Finally, I'd say Quick Draw wasn't the most popular character, so bringing an audience to watch might have been tough. Flintstones on the Rocks never really performed well, too adult, and it preceded Adult Swim, so hard to find its audience.
The Flintstones were on hiatus for the rest of the 2000s, only continuing appearing in Fruity Pebbles commercials and some very hilarious cameos. The characters will return in the 2015 direct-to-video film, Flintstones WWE SmackDown. It was stupid, but the animation and art is really good. Probably the best the characters have ever looked. Then on the Boomerang app, there was Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs. I never saw it, but maybe it'll be good. Seth MacFarlane was planning on doing a Flintstones reboot in 2013, but plans were scrapped. Now Elizabeth Banks is heading a Flintstones reboot on Fox called Bedrock, focusing more on adult Pebbles. It's still in production as we speak, unless Zaslav got his filthy tax write-off hands on this too. Don't have too much to say except I'm curious, because I also want to see these characters again, and it has to be 10 times better than this shit. Flintstones on the Rocks is definitely a mixed bag. It has its flaws, but what works really works. The realistic look at how Fred and Wilma deal with their crumbling marriage is well put together, and some of the best parts of the film. The makers of On the Rocks said the film was intended to have the look and feel of the original series, and in my opinion, they succeeded. I say if you're a Flintstones fan, more so fan of the original, I definitely say check it out. Until next time, I'm 47 Cartoon Guy, and I gotta fly.
Hold it. Yabba dabba doo.
Es trabajo.
If you'd like to support this series and many other videos, click the link below to our Patreon. You could get a special credit at the end of each video, and a shout out to your YouTube channel or blog, a commission by me, and now my $5 tier, in addition to early access and special credits, you can request a Hanna Barbera special or movie for me to review as part of my Funtastic legacy of Hanna Barbera Minisode series. A lot goes into the making of these videos, and your help can make production go smoother, in terms of me paying for software, research materials, etc. And as always, if you're not able to donate, you could help by liking, commenting, subscribing, and clicking the bell icon. I thank you, and I gotta fly. I'll catch you later.